Morning of September 8th, 1939. The sun emerges weak over Poland, veiled by dense clouds of dust and smoke rising from destroyed villages, carrying the pungent stench of sulfur, charred wood, and decay. The air is oppressive, humid with morning dew mixed with the metallic smell of dried blood, while the distant roar of German artillery makes the ground vibrate like an incessant pulse of fear. Polish soldiers, with faces marked by fatigue, feel aching muscles under torn uniforms, the weight of cold bayonets against sweaty skin, ears ringing with echoes of past explosions. Civilians, in simple bomb-shaken homes, wake startled by the sound of approaching engines, hearts gripped by uncertainty if the day will bring salvation or annihilation. The German offensive advances like an inexorable tide, spreading chaos and despair across the nation. In Bedzin, an industrial city in southern Poland, terror explodes at dusk. Hundreds of Jews are torn from their residences by Wehrmacht troops, their bodies trembling with dread, clothes shredded by the soldiers' rough hands. The air fills with barked German commands, the dry click of rifles being cocked echoing through dusty streets. They are shoved into the great synagogue, an ancestral sanctuary now converted into a chamber of death. Doors are slammed shut and locked, and flames are ignited. The fire roars, devouring the wooden structure. The crackling of beams like an infernal roar, intense heat radiating to nearby streets. Inside, the air becomes a suffocating hell, burning throats and lungs. The smell of thick smoke and scorched hair mixing with desperate screams of agony. 200 succumb burned alive, their bodies writhing in excruciating pain before fusing with the sacred temple's ashes. Outside, soldiers shoot at those trying to escape through shattered windows, blood gushing onto uneven ground, leaving viscous pools that reflect dancing flames. Survivors, hidden in damp and dark basements, feel chests heaving, icy sweat dripping down spines, bodies paralyzed by the absolute horror enveloping them like a shroud. Not far away, in Ciepielow, a rural village in Mazovia Voivodeship, the nightmare repeats with cruel precision. Soldiers from the German 29th Infantry Division capture about 300 disarmed and exhausted Polish prisoners of war from the 74th Infantry Regiment. After fierce combats, the air vibrates with curt orders, the metallic sound of weapons being prepared cutting through the tense silence of the fields. Without trial or mercy, the prisoners are lined up in rows, feet sinking into soft earth damp from recent rain. Bursts of automatic gunfire echo across valleys, mixed with muffled moans and final pleas. Bodies fall in disordered piles, the acrid smell of fresh gunpowder and hot blood making the air unbreathable, the soil turning into sticky red mud. Local women and children, unwilling witnesses, feel stomachs churning with the metallic stench, eyes burning with tears of terror as the buzz of flies begins to fill the oppressive void. In Ksiazki, in the Chelno region, an SS unit carries out a summary execution. 43 Poles are taken to a sand quarry, the air laden with fine dust sticking to sweaty skin. Orders are given, and rhythmic shots echo against the pit walls. Bodies collapsing into soft sand, blood seeping into porous ground. The smell of cordite hangs heavy, mixed with earthy odor, while executors watch impassively. The subsequent silence broken only by whispering wind. Meanwhile, in Bydgoszcz, a large-scale cleanup operation unfolds. Major General Walter Bramer, the military commander, orders house-to-house searches with Einsatzkommando 1 divided by IV. About 370 Poles are executed, many in public squares to serve as examples. The air vibrates with shouts of accusation and the dull thud of rifle butts against bodies, the smell of sweat and fear filling narrow streets. In Inowroclaw, the 337th Infantry Regiment of the 208th Division, with aid from local ethnic Germans, detains 1,000 men and executes about 20 in retaliation for alleged resistance, shots echoing like isolated thunder, leaving the air impregnated with gunpowder and death. The German advance continues without respite. Near Warsaw, Wehrmacht forces reach the suburbs, the thunder of Panzer tanks making houses tremble like in an earthquake, glass shattering in cascades of sharp fragments. Polish soldiers, entrenched in improvised barricades of rubble and sandbags, feel the ground pulse under feet. Hot air from explosions, scorching faces, the smell of smoke and melted metal choking breaths. In the Poznan sector, 19 Polish divisions are encircled, trapped in a steel snare, commanders planning a desperate counterattack along the Bzura River. The air in trenches is thick with rancid sweat and churned earth, while Luftwaffe planes buzz overhead like furious swarms, dropping bombs that open smoking craters, the boom making ears bleed. On the Western Front, war at sea intensifies. After the first escorted merchant convoys the previous day, British ships crossed the Atlantic, sea salt mixed with machine oil on slippery decks. Crews feel the sway of icy waves battering hulls, eyes scanning gray horizons for enemy periscopes, hearts racing with each breaking wave. German submarines lurk in cold depths, the subtle sound of torpedoes slicing water like silent blades, ready to strike. In Germany, opponents of the Nazi regime lives in perilous escapes. Families cross borders under night's darkness, the crunch of dry leaves under feet amplified by terror, the smell of damp earth and pines filling nostrils, fear of patrols hanging like invisible mist. But in occupied Poland, escape is a distant illusion, with German advance sealing paths and hopes. The Polish government, pressured by imminent encirclement, evacuates to Lublin, ministers and officials rushing along congested roads, the air laden with dust raised by panicking vehicles, distant siren sounds mixing with artillery thunder. In the outside world, American President Franklin Roosevelt declares a limited emergency, his grave voice echoing on radios across United States homes, families feeling a chill of apprehension around dinner tables, the smell of home-cooked food suddenly sour with news of spreading conflict. On the Soviet border with Latvia, troops concentrate, the air cold and tense, planes violating airspace in menacing maneuvers, engine roars making ground tremble slightly. The eighth day of the war reveals the cruel essence of the conflict, not mere battles between armies, but a systematic assault on humanity. Soldiers at the front carry the weight of uncertainty, civilians the terror of imminent loss. What will tomorrow bring? More devouring flames, more spilled blood, or a glimpse of stubborn resistance? To not miss the next day, subscribe, like, and comment.